Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Overcome Burnout presentation. My name is Caitlin Gaho, and I work for Sharp Health Plan's Best Health team. I'm the wellness coordinator here. And this is Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
All right. Today, we're going to focus on what is burnout, the signs and symptoms of burnout, stress versus burnout, the causes of burnout, dealing with burnout, how to build emotional intelligence, some work-life strategies, personal strategies, and lastly, we'll talk through resources. So what is burnout? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and/or mental exhaustion caused by excessive stress. So three things that can characterize burnout: emotional exhaustion, the fatigue that comes from caring too much for too long, a decreased sense of accomplishment, that incomparable sense of futility, feeling that nothing you can do makes any difference. And then lastly, depersonalization, deletion and or reduction of empathy, caring, and compassion. So that can really spill into your home, your work, your social life, just not really retreating and not having energy to do anything. And some signs and symptoms of burnout, you're going to have some physical, emotional, and behavioral changes. You may be feeling tired and drained most of the time, frequent sicknesses, headaches, or muscle pain, so maybe some changes in appetite or sleep. Emotionally, you can have that sense of failure, feeling helpless, like we talked about, detached, feeling that loss of motivation. Maybe just feeling like every day is a bad day, like caring about your work or your home life could just feel like a waste of energy. You're just feeling really exhausted all the time. And behavioral, you're withdrawing from your responsibilities, isolating yourself from others, using food, drugs, or alcohol to cope, and maybe just procrastinating a lot. So those are a couple of the signs and symptoms of burnout.
All right, so now that Caitlin has shared with us some signs and symptoms, we can see that burnout is very similar to stress. So stress, by and large, involves too much of something, so too many pressures that demand too much of you physically and mentally. And a person who's feeling stressed can still imagine that if they, often will imagine if they can get everything under control, they'll feel better, as opposed to burnout, which is more about not enough. So feeling burned out will often equate to feeling empty, mentally exhausted, devoid of motivation, and beyond caring. People who experience burnout often don't see any hope of positive change in their situations. And so one way to think about it is if excessive stress feels like you're drowning in responsibilities, then burnout is a sense of feeling all dried up. And while you're usually aware of being under a lot of stress, you don't always notice when burnout occurs. And here are some more examples of how stress and burnout can vary. You can see in terms of characterization, as we discussed in the last slide, you'll see an overengagement when it comes to stress, but with burnout, it would be more of a disengagement. Whereas emotions are overreactive, we'll notice with burnout, emotions are often blunted. And then just to provide an example, a real life example, I don't know if I've mentioned, I'm one of the health coaches at Best Health. So I've worked with many employees and members who have come to coaching with the stress management program. And I do recall many years ago at another organization where an employee was experiencing extreme stress, both at home and at work. And this person just shared that they felt completely overwhelmed and empty. And I could tell by this person's demeanor, there was a significant difference between being stressed versus burned out. And so this difference, although sometimes obvious, it can take some time to notice it. Yeah, so let's move on to the next slide.
All right. Thanks for explaining that difference there. I know that can be difficult to understand stress and burnout. So, with causes of burnout, we want to go ahead and talk about that. So, when you have that unresolved stress, that can lead to burnout, right? You may not have supportive friends, family, or coworkers. Personality traits could be, you could feel that excessive high control or perfectionism that can maybe cause burnout. Maybe if your lifestyle, you're not exercising or sleeping enough, or you're not eating healthfully, maybe not getting enough recognition, um, just maybe some mismatched values and skills. So all these different things can kind of cause that burnout. And we wanted to talk about some statistics on burnout. We found a 2020 Harvard Business Review study that analyzed the state of burnout and well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic. So they came to find that it is a global problem. And over 1,500 respondents in various roles and seniority levels in different countries have responded, and 89% work life is getting worse. 85% said their well-being had decreased. 56% said job demand increased. 62% said they're struggling to manage their workload and had experienced burnout often. And then 57% said the pandemic had a large effect on their work. 55% did not feel they had been able to balance home and work life. And then 25% felt unable to maintain strong connection with family. 39% felt unable to maintain their strong connection with colleagues, and 50% felt unable to maintain strong connection with friends. So we just wanted to highlight just how burnout is really a problem. And then what can we do from here?
All right, so thanks, Caitlin. So now that we know how prevalent burnout really is with those numbers, it would make sense that, of course, there are many consequences to experiencing burnout, such as drops in productivity, frequent illness, severed relationships, and a decrease in just overall well-being. So we've got the 3R approach here that can help combat some of the negative effects of burnout. And the 3R approach basically is recognize would be the first R. So watch for warning signs, reverse, undo damage by seeking support. So ask for help, and be it from your internal support, such as family and friends, to other support, such as maybe coworkers or colleagues, and also professional help if needed. And then finally, resilience. Build resilience by taking care of your physical and emotional health. I often compare or equate building resilience like building a muscle. When we build resilience, it takes intentional and consistent effort. And oftentimes, some say that the core of resilience is insight. So if we get curious to catch the problem, and then we can reclaim our power over the situation. It's very important not to let everyday stress, which often is just part of life, turn into burnout, and it is a fine line sometimes. And now we see that the next slide deals with building emotional intelligence. So what is emotional intelligence? We hear a lot about this, and it's super important when it comes especially to dealing with burnout and emotional health. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, understand, and use your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress and anxiety, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges. Other components of EQ, which is also how we call emotional intelligence, are included here. So self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship management. Basically, when it comes to happiness and success in our relationships, career, and personal goals, EQ often matters just as much as the more well-known IQ.
All right, thank you. We wanted to just give a couple work-life strategies when dealing with burnout. Having a manageable workload, reframing the way you look at work and the meaning behind your work. So go and realize, like, what am I doing and what is my purpose behind my work? Evaluate your role and maybe reprioritize your different duties in your role. And then model the behavior that you're looking for. Um, and then maybe talk about mental health at work. Talk about it with your coworkers. Talk about it with your upper management. Get to know your coworkers better is always really helpful. Even if you have like a Teams chat or something like that, where you can just have fun throughout the day when you are talking through work life and your team duties, and also take much needed vacation days. Those are really important. We all get PTO. Take those days. That'll help with, reframing, reducing that stress that can then lead into burnout. So if you take those days, that'll really be helpful. So the alternative is to work more intelligently by focusing on the things that are important for job success and reducing the time that we spend on those lower priority tasks. So just that time management is really helpful too. And a couple work-specific tips that we wanted to go over. So use breaks to truly relax rather than simply pausing. For instance, instead of having coffee or sitting or reading, take a short walk, go outside to renew yourself. It is good to read too, but sometimes when you get outside, that can really help. And then at lunch, changing your environments can be helpful. And maybe stepping away from your desk or workstation and eating lunch outdoors if possible. I think just being outside is just always nice, having that fresh air. And then choosing to eat 1 or 2 lunches per week in silence instead of, watching a show or watching something on your phone or listening to a podcast or anything like that. Just be quiet and eat mindfully and eat slowly and be with yourself and your thoughts and your senses. Stop for 1 to 3 minutes every hour during the workday to regroup and recoup, so that you can become aware of your breathing and your bodily sensations and allowing your mind to settle. And then use everyday cues in the environment as reminders to recenter, such as like the telephone ringing or, a car driving by or construction going on. Just hearing that and then going back to the center and what's going on right then and there can be really helpful. And when pulling into your driveway or parking on the street or just being done with work, take a minute to orient yourself to being back with your family or roommates or when you enter your home. That can get you out of that work life and come into the home workspace or home space. And then at the end of the workday, try retracing your day's activities, acknowledge and congratulate yourself for what you've accomplished for the day. And then make your list for tomorrow's and have those priorities set. You've done an awesome job for the day. So congratulate yourself and be ready and refreshed. And lastly, we wanted to offer some personal strategies. Feeling a sense of purpose in your life. So what's your why in life? Really ask yourself that. Connect with your family and friends. Join a group, meet new people. If you don't have a big support group, go and find some group that maybe a hobby that you have that you're interested in. You can meet other people that have that same hobby or like-minded people. You can join that. There's community groups all over in your city. Give to others. That's really important when you are giving, volunteering your time, helping others is so helpful for your stress levels. Have fun, laugh, just enjoy your people, you enjoy, a comedy show, have fun with your day, and set boundaries in relationships. That's always really important. Take a break from technology. I know we're on our computers all day and then we're on our phones and then we're on TV. So having breaks in between is very, very helpful. Even if you take like a media break for a day or two is always really great and refreshing. And then exercise and get plenty of sleep, trying to get at least 30 minutes of exercise and 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Also setting aside relaxation time and practice mindfulness. I know there's a lot of apps out there that have mindfulness meditation, like 5 to 10 minute practices. Always really great to get yourself in the present moment.
Okay, so in addition to those really great tips that Caitlin just shared, we would also like to share another activity here called Mindful Words. So this is a helpful mindfulness activity that can help us just be more present oriented. We know it's difficult to focus on the present sometimes without judgment and get wrapped up in our worries about the future. So we're just going to go through this for a moment here. Give your mind a gentle reminder to refocus on the present by doing this activity. You can make a list of words that will remind you to think of the present. And there's some examples here. Words such as breathe, hear, notice, accept. The list goes on and on. Write each word on its own slip of paper and then put the little slips of paper all in a small box or jar. I have a jar at home I call my joyful jar, and then so I put those little slips in the jar. Select one word from your box or jar each day to use as a cue to reconnect to yourself, to others, or to the sounds and sights and sensations around you. And then you can revisit your word of the day, either a few times throughout the day or whatever it is that is most realistic to you and what you decide to commit to. Just take some time to think about that word and put it in your current context. This exercise can be extremely rewarding, and it doesn't take much time at all.
Thank you. That's such a great exercise. We also wanted to let you know about some virtual resources that we have that can help you overcome burnout. With us, with Best Health, we have our wellness program. It's at yourbesthealth.com. You can go on our site. You can access learning modules that have tons of emotional health modules in there, self-care, stress management. There's more than that, but right now we're focusing on the emotional health piece. And then we also have health coaching, which is really great. And Michelle will talk about that in the next slide. And then we partner with Studio Sweat on Demand. It's a virtual online Netflix library of exercise classes. So you have all different types of exercise classes in there. You'll have Pilates, yoga, cycling, kickboxing, you name it, we have it. And that's only $9 a month. It's really great. And then in addition to that, we just thought we could throw out a couple of different apps and podcasts and a book. The Happiness Lab podcast is by Dr. Laurie Santos, a Yale psychology professor, and she studies research on happiness and understanding our why and our purpose and how to care for ourselves. So that's really a great podcast. Calm and Headspace are wonderful apps that do mindful meditations. Super, super helpful to keep you in the present moment. And then a really great book that I thought was awesome is called Beating Burnout at Work. It's a new book by Paula Davis. It's a science-backed toolkit that takes a holistic approach to burnout prevention by helping individuals, teams, and leaders build resilience and thrive at work. So I thought that would be really great too. And then, of course, for your employer group, Employee Assistance Program is awesome. If you have access to that, definitely utilize that. And then if there's anything else that your employer is doing with burnout or any kind of emotional health resources, definitely access those. And if they're not, maybe ask what you can do to start something in your work. So just some fun resources for you that can help with this.
All right, and as Caitlin mentioned, last but not least is the Best Health coaching program. So as I mentioned earlier, I am one of the coaches. We have several great coaches here, and I just want to share a little bit about what coaching is and how the program works. And so basically with health coaching, it's all about living the best life possible for you. And in order to do that, we find we need to make some improvements and changes in our lifestyle often. And anyone who's lived a little knows that change can be quite challenging, especially when it comes to our health, our own personal health. So that's where health coaching can help. We build a relationship, help reach your goals, and just help you be at your best. As far as the specifics of the program, it is a program that has no cost to you, and it is 6 weeks initially. And then after the 6 weekly sessions, you're invited to continue in what we call a maintenance program. And that's decided upon you and your coach in terms of what would serve you best in terms of frequency. And it is a phone call, so it's fairly easy enough to fit into your day. It is a goal-oriented program, so you'll be setting specific goals for yourself each week, action steps and intentions, as we like to call them. And then you and your coach will basically co-create a plan to help you succeed at taking small steps to improve your lifestyle. We do have 5 core programs. So listed here, we have the weight management, tobacco cessation, nutrition, exercise, and stress management. And as you can probably imagine, many of these topics overlap. So just because you pick one area doesn't mean that you can't set goals in another area. So it is many of these, it's a kind of a big umbrella in terms of what you can focus on. And then the best way to get started is just to email us. So send an email to besthealth@sharp.com and then mention that you're interested in coaching, health coaching, and then someone will get back to you with a coaching request form, and that's where you'll indicate your preferred days and times. And then we would set up what we call a consultation call, and you're able to ask questions, and the coach will really just inform you more about the program and what coaching is, what coaching isn't. Then you'll be able to decide if you'd like to enroll at that time.
Right, thank you. We just want to end with this quote. Ambition can coexist with rest and recharging, but often we're hard on ourselves. Follow the advice you'd give to other people and treat yourself like a friend. When you look at yourself through that lens, it's amazing the impact it can have in terms of treating yourself better. Chloe Taylor. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.